It is now 5:30. I'm going to go and call this meeting of the City Commission to order, and we'll start off with the prayer. So if everybody can please stand. Dear Jesus, as we gather here today to conduct the business of our city, we ask for your guidance and wisdom to be upon us. Grant us the insight to make decisions that will benefit all members of our community. Help us listen with open hearts, to speak with honesty and integrity, and to work together in harmony for the greater good of our city. May your presence be felt in this meeting, guiding our thoughts and actions. Amen. Amen. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mark, if you can read the conflict of interest.
Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a commission member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item. Members with a conflict of interest cannot participate in the discussion nor vote on the agenda item. Are there any known conflicts of interest to disclose at this time?
None.
None. None.
None.
None.
Okay, I just want to point out that Mayor Sepulveda is joining us on Zoom. And Melinda, do we have any citizen communication?
Yes, there's citizen communications. Under state law, a conflict of interest exists if a commission member or certain members of that person's family has a qualifying financial interest in an agenda item.
Melinda, that's the wrong one.
We just did that one.
Yeah,
Oh, the citizen.
Conflict of interest.
Oh, yes.
So you just-
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
And then just say who
Oh, okay.
signed up.
Yes, sir. We have one citizen communication, Mr. Ron Lozano.
Mr. Lozano?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I had a good discussion, and I guess the heading would be transparency, that Friday, y'all decided to alter the website of the city of Harlingen. And this meeting that's here at the moment, it's obvious that one of the charter that's an important position for the city is absent. So the person that's replacing her can attest to you that for a certain period of time, this meeting was not posted in its regular place, which is on the front doors at 118 East Tyler. There are some little glass partition windows, and it was not there for a certain period of time. And so it probably doesn't meet the continuous portion of the Open Meetings Act, but regardless, the more relevant issue is that people that wanted to utilize the citizens communication format were not instructed in certain new features that were implemented Friday, March the 1st of this year. So you couldn't sign up for citizen communication on the internet. I was able to do it by physically coming here. And that's how I noticed that the meeting wasn't posted for today. So I think Trump showed us today that ultimately sometimes things have to be resolved in a certain manner. But the Mayor Pro Tem, the non-lawyer among us, accurately depicts the open meetings law, which is, unless a quorum, and in the charter right now says 3 members of the city commission is going to establish a quorum. And I don't recall if it might be 2 members and the mayor can also do so. Regardless of what it might be, what triggers it, the government code, Title V, starts out the Open Meetings Act with definitions, as is almost all throughout the statutes. And in the definitions, it defines what deliberate means. So, unless a quorum gets involved in deliberating with themselves or with a third person, such as myself, there is not a violation if you all choose to be human beings or Americans or whatever you want to call yourself, city commissioners. So, one of you on the podium and I have a disagreement. Like I said, there's a method eventually for that to be resolved. But finally, I also ask that there have been other people that have worked hard, as Ms. Elizondo tries to do here. And regarding the board members are listed in the website as of Thursday before the new one. And hopefully we can assign the commissioners that appoint them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lozano. Anything else?
No, that's it for citizen communications, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item number 1.
Okay. Discussion on recommendations regarding terms and conditions pertaining to the following sports league contracts. We have the Harlingen United Football Club, South Texas Little League, Harlingen National Bronco Baseball and Softball, Harlingen Texas Bronco League, Harlingen National Youth Football League, Harlingen Adult Soccer League, Rio Valley Amateur Soccer, Harlingen Cardinal Youth Sports, and Harlingen Wolfpack. Mr. Mendez?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Javier Mendez. I'm the Parks and Rec Director. So if you all recall, back in October, we brought these contracts to the City Commission for consideration. We did take them to the Park Advisory Board. There was some recommendations for some changes. And so those changes, for y'all's record, we put them in red, except for item number, or Roman numeral 1, that second paragraph. We added that after we presented them to the Park Advisory Board. And the reason we did that was because we've had some complaints from some individuals about taking over ownership of the entire park, right? And so the only thing that these contracts are for is just for the sports fields. And so anyway, we want to make that clear on the contract. If you would like, I can go through each one of the items that we were recommending to change. And again, we took these to the Park Advisory Board, and they, the league representatives were also present at the meeting. And so these were some of the changes that we recommended. Again, Roman numeral 1, we did change. We added that the open green space at the city parks is open and available to the public on a first come, first served basis. Item number 3 is we changed this to add a $10 registrant fee to the contract. So for every participant they have in their organization or their league that's registered, we would collect $10 from the league. And so this is to help us, of course, put back into the fields, into the complex, to maintain them.
Was that in before or no?
I'm sorry?
Was that like, did we have something similar before?
Before, it was just $1 for the year.
No, we didn't have that before. Correct. That's new.
Then the next change I have here is letter K on page 2. And so this states that the city shall square and mark fields at the beginning of the season, and the league shall drag and mark fields from that point forward. And again, we brought a lot of these suggestions to the board and to the leagues just because there was more requests and there was less staff, right? And so it was becoming encumbersome of our staff that maintain entire parks and other sites to be out there striping and dragging and so on. And then on let's see.
Just a quick question. I
Yes.
think we can go right through it. Javier. So are all the contracts essentially the same?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Except for the Taifa. So Taifa, all they do is they just use the field for practice. They don't ask us to stripe. They don't ask us to turn on the lights or anything like that.
Which one's
So-
that? Excuse me?
Taifa. That is the last one, the Wolf,
That would be I.
Okay, got it.
Harlingen Wolf Pack.
So, okay, all they do is practice out of fields. They don't have games there. They don't do anything.
No. So those are the multi-purpose fields that are at the sports complex up front. We use security lights that AP provides, so they're not really sports lighting. And so, of course, we mow it and everything else, but we don't maintain it, we don't stripe it, other than mowing, of course.
And we're still gonna charge them $10 a person?
I don't, did we,
It's,
were we? Yes,
yeah.
yes,
So everyone's getting charged that $10?
correct.
Okay. And then the other thing I recall is that you want it to be able to rest our fields, to be able to maintain them, do those things. I don't see anywhere, I haven't seen it, and you can please direct my attention. Is there anywhere in here that says there's certain times of the year that they're not, these leagues cannot use the fields just because we're going to be doing that maintenance?
I don't think we added that to the contract, but we certainly could, restrict the use, just depending on, because a lot of the leagues, they do run year-round. For example, soccer does, they play year-round. So, especially since, if we do upgrade renovate those fields, we do want to definitely let those fields rest.
And so, based on your experience or your staff's experience, how long should the fields rest throughout the year?
Well, we probably want to give them at least 90 days, right? 3 months out of the year to rest.
Is that gonna be like continuous? You can do 1 month here, 1 month here? Or what do you-
Well, what we want to go in there and, because if y'all recall, when I did the presentation to y'all, we wanted to create a crew that would just take care of the sports fields, right? So we also want to do is we also want to buy some equipment to be able to maintain those fields, right? Specific equipment for mowing and specific equipment for the hydroseeding and for fertilizing and everything else, right? So, so those are some of the things that we want to try to implement. But
So you would need to stagger the periods for, like you wouldn't close all of them at the same time.
Well, there's specific times of the year that we want to do this, right? So it'd be during the spring, especially if we want to overseed the fields, just because of the use during the fall. We want to seed them, fertilize them and then aerate them. And so it's best to
Kinda
do
like
those during the
January through
springtime.
March kind of thing.
Yes.
Javier, this contract is from March to September. Is that intentional? Will that rest time be after September?
Yes, so what we wanted to do is, we want them to all start and end at the same time. And so our intention was to have them run from October 1st through September 30th, and concurrent with the fiscal year.
So then, no, it's not for the rest period. When will that be then? What is your recommendation?
So we would, with y'all's approval, then we would bring them back in September for approval to do the full 1 year.
Okay. And then in that contract, that's when we would put in that 3-month, January 1st through March 1st, the fields cannot be used.
Correct.
Okay.
And that would be all fields?
That would be all fields.
Is that enough time for you to bring back the grass?
I think so.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
You want to come up? So I think what he's saying is that depending on the sport, right? So there's seasons for different sports, right? So I think that's what you were talking about, is those would have to be, sporadic, right? They wouldn't fall in the same
So you
time
would
of
have
the
to
year.
stagger some of them.
Yes. Yeah, depending on the sport is what.
Sure.
I have a question. Since all of these contracts are basically essentially the same, we briefly earlier downstairs, before I came up, I overheard, were you able to attend that youth football on Wednesday or Thursday of last week?
No, sir.
I drove by there. I was running late. That was packed. And I saw kids all over the place. And I've been there before because I got invited. Or I was told about it and I did go. I didn't see any fencing there at that time. So if we didn't have any fencing, do we have fencing now? How are we gonna protect those fields if it's gonna be an open park. Open fields, okay? If it's on a first come, first serve, and I see kids running all over the place, how are we gonna secure that particular park from somebody else coming in? How are you going to be able to secure that once you do the striping, nobody else takes advantage of that? How are you going to be able to secure the fact that if you want to give the grass a month or 2 months, you know, how are you going to do that?
Well,
Because
I mean-
is Vestal Park the only one that's on here?
No, there, it's all the
No.
parks, so Wilson, Sports Complex, Harlingen Soccer Complex.
And all of those do have some type of security, right?
No.
A fence around them?
No.
So how do we secure that? Do we talk to, let's say, I'm gonna say Erasmo. He's with the soccer,
Yes.
and kids are gonna be playing out there. If he gets there and the field is occupied, what does he do?
So he would ask them to leave, because he has a contract with us for a specific date and specific time. And so some of the league representatives have called PD, or they've called us, of course, letting us know that there's people out there practicing or whatever. And so I've talked to them personally and asked them to, you know, of course, move from the fields. They can use the green space, right, to practice and do other things, but not the fields.
Do you see a conflict between people saying, hey, it's a park and we should be permitted to be here? And you're going to come out and say, hey, we got a contract?
I think that's what that first red line is in section 1. That's what that's for.
So, I mean, I don't think there's a conflict. One of the things that we want to make sure is that the city's protected, so that's why we enter into these agreements with these organized leagues. If there is organized activities out there, we of course definitely want to know and let them know that, one, they can't be out there if they're organized or they belong to an organized league, that they have to, of course, get a contract with the city. But if it's a mom and pop, or if it's a, you know, a team that's just practicing throwing the ball, you know, that's, you know, we let that happen.
Out of all of these, have we ever hosted a tournament?
I mean, I don't think we have, but the leagues have hosted a tournament. I know at over at Victor Cepeda, he's hosted tournaments. Jerry has hosted tournaments at the Wilson Sports Complex, and then over at the football, soccer has hosted tournaments.
How many of the parks do you see? How many of these parks do you see cannot host a tournament? The ones that are listed here, the ones that pertain to this.
Yeah, I think all of them can host tournaments. I know that there's one league, which is the Cardinals, Hardin Cardinals. They use other sites to play because of their organization that they belong to requires certain criteria. And so that park, Vestal, doesn't meet those requirements. And so they play elsewhere, but they practice there at Vestal.
Where do they play? Where do they host these tournaments?
I believe they host them at the school district. Is that right?
But we host them there because Vestal's not.
Could you stand up, come to the mic, please?
I said, my name's Abel Castaneda, by the way. I'm sure y'all know me. But the reason why we host them at the mini stadium is because Vestal's not up to par to host games there. I know, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, Gabe, but you did promise me that about a year ago that we would have a concession stand there to, to have something organized out there. And it's, the only way we fund ourselves is through registration, and I mean, we're bringing a lot of kids back out to sports out here, and I know what I sat on the Parks board for a while, and they've been saying that they're gonna do this for years, even prior to COVID, and it's the same story, and nothing gets done as far as like the fields getting irrigated and fertilized and this and that, and it's just if we shut down these seasons that want to play year round, all these kids, I can vouch for all these sports leagues. Those kids are going to go play in Edinburgh. They're going to go play in Weslaco. They're going to go play in Brownsville. We're going to lose all those kids to other cities versus building our Harlingen youth kids up, building them strong. I think I've invited Javier, I've invited Lupe, the several Parks board to several camps that we have. Not once have they come out there to say, hey, what can we do to help you guys? What can we do to work together and build up our youth programs here in Harlingen? It's always like more and more different regulations that they want to put instead of saying, what can we do to work with you guys? You know, like, let's keep Harlingen the #1 sports in baseball, soccer, football, golf, everything. We want to be the leaders in the valley. If you have a good football team, you have a good soccer, baseball team for the valley, everybody's going to want to come play in Harlingen. If you're moving from another town over here, Harlingen's known for football. Harlingen, my daughter's been playing soccer for one's at UT Austin. She's a sophomore, but you know, the girls soccer team, they've gone 16-1, 15-1. How many seasons for the past 6 years? That's something to be proud of. Y'all have given them awards up here, but we have to keep our soccer programs strong. We have to keep our football programs, baseball programs, not close them down for 3 months. You know, to me, that's these kids. Some of these kids, that's the only hope that they have. The only thing that keeps them from being on the street, goofing around, you know, getting in trouble, is keeping them to do something after school, come to practice, come to, you know, a game. You know, they get our kids, we tell them to wear their game day jerseys on Fridays. They wear those jerseys with pride. You know, they go out there and other kids, they see that, and that's about building the tradition. So when they get to middle school, they get to high school, they have that tradition already. And you know, putting some of these, I mean, I understand that they want to you know, the $10, I mean, I understand. I'm fine with that. But, you know, everybody needs to be on the same playing field, you know. I know, like, with Texas Sports, our league, sorry I took over the mic, but our league, you know, we started off last spring with nine organizations. Right now, we've grown to 22 organizations. They keep asking me, Abel, can you host in Harlingen? Can you host... you know, Vestal Park would be a good park to host. There's 3 fields that we can have 3 games going on at once, but we don't have a proper facility there. There's the gating in the back is wide open. The way they put the fence on the front, they could have moved it 15 feet back, and they could have had probably 30, 40 more parking spots so people can come. So instead of hosting those games here, we're sending all that business to McAllen Sports Park, to Brownsville Sports Park, where all those people could come over here, have you know, lunch here, dinner here. I know some of the times that we went to play in McAllen last spring, there was a weekend tournament. Some of our coaches were renting the Airbnbs just to stay the night, so they didn't have to be driving back and forth because we were there all day. I mean, that's business that Harlingen could be getting, and I'm sure it goes for soccer. I know Jerry has some tournaments that, you know, we need to build up, take care of our programs here. And I think that our Parks Board needs to get on the same page with us, start coming out more, start seeing what they can do to help us grow, not put more regulations on us. I mean, I know, I'm sure Jerry works, Leo works, I work at UPS. I kill myself all day just to make it out to practice and get there by 6:30. I don't get home till 10 o'clock at night sometimes, and then by the time I take a shower and go to bed, I'm dying just to wake up the next day and go out there to go coach and run a league. It's tough.
Hold up. You're a runaway freight train here.
Sorry.
I need to. I know you mentioned 9 to 22 organizations.
Mm-hmm.
How many teams on that organization?
Each organization has 4 divisions.
4 divisions.
And then those divisions, through Texas Sports, it's required to have minimal 20 kids.
20 kids. So you're looking at 80 kids for one organization?
Mm-hmm.
That, gentleman, is and ladies, that's 1,760. Are these all from Harlingen?
No, those are coming. That's those like Los Fresnos teams, Port Isabel teams, but they come. They wanted us to host here in Harlingen, so we would have all those people coming here to Harlingen, playing here after the games, eating here, spending money here. I mean, it would bring business here, but we don't have the proper facilities to do so. Even if we were to play at the Cardinal Mini Stadium, they have one game-ready field. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't work there. But at Vestal, we could, but we don't have the proper, concessions, the gate, the way the gate's set up. But now, like I'm saying, we have to go to Brownsville, we have to go to McAllen to play because our facility here is not
Okay,
proper.
so we're looking at, this is yours. Where do we stand on soccer?
In soccer,
Yes.
I know like the past season there was.
Okay. Por favor.
Okay, guys, thank you for giving me the time. My name is Arturo Aparicio. I'm the president of Harlingen United FC. We're basically taking over Arroyo, and right now our registration stands at 680 players with about 50 to 60 coaches that we'd like to continue to grow because we need coaches, so we need volunteers. Just with that said, this is the size of our club. We expect that maybe by the fall we'll be at 1,000. And so, we're looking at that $10 fee. We're a brand new club. We went out there and bought some dirt. We brought 2 volunteers to help us with little tractors with the approval of Harlingen Rec, Parks and Rec. We went out there to try to level some of the fields that we have. We are restricted from using fields, some of the fields, due to the fact that you guys are going to start, working on them. So we don't know how it's going to work out once we start our practices and then our games. We do have the fields for our games. So right now, at this moment, we are trying to get those worked out. The thing is that the closure of the 3 months is, if it's estimated to be after September, we start our fall season in September. And it's one of the major seasons for our teams, especially the ones that are select. At the end of their season, their records are tabulated by STISA and then allocated to the state championship tournaments. And those are, $600 tournaments that they have to go to. And they do a regional tournament within the valley, and then if they win that one, they get to travel to San Antonio and then maybe Austin after that. But the point is that that's during that time that we're going to cut.
My question, currently you have 680 players.
Yes.
You're hoping to get 1,000.
Yes, within a year.
You're working toward that.
Our goal is 1,000.
Is 1,000. And these are players within Harlingen or surrounding areas or the whole valley?
I think 80% of it is Harlingen.
Okay. Where in the valley have these tournaments taken place?
And Bronzeville and McAllen.
The same scenario as?
Yes, we do have a coordinator of a major club, a major tournament, based out of Round Rock, that one of our board members was participating at Round Rock, and basically secured a meeting for that person to come down and meet with us, but he would also like to see our fields and evaluate them to see if he'd be able to help us out and be able to have that tournament in Harlingen, in the valley. And this is a tournament that is hosted around Texas, and the winner of that tournament gets to go to Las Vegas to fight for that championship. It's basically the winners of all the tournaments, they go to Las Vegas to go play against each other.
I'm going to ask you one question how do you see our fields?
They're not, personally, we went out there to fill the holes for fields 7, 8, and 9. And we spent 6 hours just filling 2 of them. I walked in there 2 weeks later, which I know that there's other teams that are not registered with us. They're out there practicing. And we can't stop that. They're not fenced. But I went back there, and it seemed like we did very little to the fields. We need more. And so we'll still continue to do it. We had a game on field 1. No, field 2, that is fenced in, but our coach brought in a wheelbarrow shovel and then was shoveling dirt to fill the holes to be able to host that game. And this is a game where it's 956 United from McAllen coming into play with us, but it's only 2 teams from the Valley competing against teams from Austin, Round Rock, the Central Texas. And their only home game is that game right there, 1 game. And the rest of their games, they have to go out of town. So the majority of the time, they're playing in Round Rock. Our goal is to increase that level of play to where they're going to come down here. We want them, but for us to have that, we do need to work on those fields. And it's not due to, the wear and tear. It just happens that you all gave us a nice complex, and months later we had a hurricane, and they've never been fixed since. We've been playing with clay and dirt and some grass and weeds for the last, 20, 30 years since that hurricane came down. And so we're still out there. We have the passion for the game, and no matter what, we'll play on the streets if we have to, but we'd rather have the soccer complex. And that's basically where we're at. With regards to the fields, we can't have tournaments. They are going to come. We are going to secure that meeting with the director of, it's called the Tiger Tournament. We're going to secure, and I want that to be secured to bring him in and have him evaluate our fields. STISA did want us to send pictures of Field 2 and the goals to make sure that game would be able to be hosted in Harlingen. If not, they would have sent it to McAllen again. But I think we had good relationships with our El Valle, the league or the association that is overseeing all the Valley leagues that are under STISA, and she helped us out to make sure that she secured that game here in Harlingen. So she kind of helped us out. So I don't know if she photoshopped the pictures of the fields and the goals to be able to secure that game, but it got accepted by STISA.
Okay, I know it's soccer, and we could say that Anita Quiñones, you guys play in the same field?
Yes, I believe so.
So
You're talking about the adult co-ed league?
Correct.
Yes.
And then you would also have the other Rio Grande amateur soccer be playing the same field?
No.
They play at Vestal Park on Sundays.
Coach,
Coach, I have a question. Sorry, were you done, Frank?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. My question is, the city of Harlingen is committed to maintaining and getting the fields up to par, and we just ask for your patience, but we want to partner with you and make sure that we get that done. And we've done a lot already to get the ball rolling, and we're going to continue to do that. And we want you to be able to be successful and host tournaments and just continue on, taking the reins for the previous organization has really helped out the community. So I want to thank you for that. My question is, in order for us to really do what needs to be done on the fields, we do need to have some rest time, but I recognize that every organization is going to be different, every sport's going to be different. So how can we work with you on that? Can you share with me when the season start and ends, so that way I know what your calendar looks like?
Our 2 major seasons is the fall and the spring.
Okay, can you give me start and end dates?
Yes, we'll start with spring right now. We'll be starting April 6th, and we'll end up in May, the last week of May. So it'll be the 24th of May.
Okay.
We always host 8 weeks of seasonal games.
Got it.
And that would be the spring. And
Okay.
in the summer, we do have 1 month of summer soccer, and those are during the week. It would be mid-June through mid-July, and there'd be gaps in there. Mid-June through mid-July.
Through mid-July. Okay. So that's for your summer.
Yes, and that would be I'm assuming it would be 4 weeks. We're still trying to plan the spring right now, but it would be 4 weeks with 2 games per week.
Okay, so spring, summer, what about fall?
Okay, the fall, it is in August, but I believe we start in September, and it will end at the end of November. And the end of November, the recreational side of the club will stop playing, but then we still have our select teams continuing to move on for playoffs.
So it does not end in November?
Only the recreational side. We're talking about U3 all the way up to U10. And then we still have the U11, U10 and up, 11, 12, 13, and 14 that will continue to play. But we don't have, since we're new and trying to develop this league, I see ourselves not having a lot of those teams yet, but eventually we'll get them all.
So it looks to me that potentially in the summertime, you've got a month that we can work with in terms of you end the spring and the 24th of May, and then you start somewhere mid-June. So during that small period of window, there's a potential to have a couple of weeks, I guess. Is that right? About 2 weeks?
Yes.
Okay. And then from July to September, you don't have anything going on?
No.
Okay. So then your rest period for the fields would potentially be a couple of months, but just in a different period, which would be the latter part of July through September 1st, or?
Yes. We could do that. And the other thing that we've done this season, just now, since we started, we're still trying to fulfill our registration process and submit them to STISA for insurance purposes. We're not practicing on the fields. Prior to that, but we were only using 2 fields at a time, giving 2 fields rest, and then turning those 2 lights on, and then give the other 2 fields the rest as well. So we can do that as well. We can rotate fields because not every team is practicing preseason. The ones that are doing that are the ones that are going to the cups. We have spring cups and we have the fall championship. And so they're very limited on the number of teams that will be practicing during the off-season periods of the recreational program. So we could rotate fields of only train a particular set and leave the others for rest. And that'll give them, actually, we should be able to pull off a 3 months time for, let's say, one field, and then we'll rotate it to the next one and give the other one 3 months of rest as we continue with the preseason part.
That sounds good. And I think that's something that you and Javier can work together.
Yes.
Is that right, Javier?
Javier, the mayor asked you a question.
She asked whether you could be willing to, are you willing to work with Coach Aparicio to figure out a schedule on resting the field?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, whatever we can get. I mean, I know that last year, we took 30 days out of their season, right? And so we went in there and we filled in the holes, we aerated, we fertilized. Of course, it wasn't enough, but we took what we can get, so.
Can you go further and provide us, do you have a timeline as to when these leagues are in operation, what fields they use? Because that would eliminate half of the stuff that we're asking right now. Because you have a timeline and you know when his leagues are going, when he has those games.
Right.
And then Castañeda, and then you got everybody else.
Yeah, we
Should
have.
be able to figure that one out pretty fast.
Yeah, so we have schedules. So what they do is they provide Lupe with a schedule of, and their rosters. And so, we have that information.
So you should be able to say, soccer, this is when they'll be able to have a month or two of rest time. And the same thing goes with the football league and then the baseball fields. The only thing I see is that some of these fields are not secure, and that's a problem.
Right.
So going back to your point, Javier, towards the beginning, right? Essentially, is you can do it, you just need the equipment and the manpower to do it, right?
Right.
And so ideally, you would want spring, but worst case scenario, if you don't get it, but you have the manpower, you can push it right through and work with them.
Right, and like, so the gentleman said, right, so they are moving from field to field, right, and they are letting some of the fields rest, which is good. But I think when they ramp up and they get, 1,000 kids, it's gonna be all kids on all fields, right?
It sounds to me that we need more more fields of all the different flavors of the sports. Because the town, you know, moved here 42 and a half years ago, it was 40,000, now we're 80,000. And you got to grow everything to accommodate everybody and everything. So how many millions do you want?
Just a few.
That was a rhetorical question, by the way.
Well, you know, one of the things that when we presented this to the board and to the leagues was we're trying to kind of follow suit with what other cities are doing. Other cities are doing almost everything that's in this contract. They're applying this to all their leagues. There's some cities that are taking over the leagues and they run them themselves, and so we looked at that as well. You know, so that's going to take a big effort as far as staff and everything else if we were to do that. But you know, we understand, you know, a lot of these programs are for the kids, and so we try to work with them as best we can.
How many of these parks don't have a concession stand? See, this is what I'm getting to, is we have 1,700 on one league, and then another one that's at pushing 700, that should be 1,000. And then you have the other leagues, is we need to start hosting some. After all, we're in the middle of the valley. So those for Brownsville don't have to go all the way to Mission or McAllen. Those for McAllen and Mission don't have to go all the way to Brownsville.
Right, so right now there's two parks that don't have concessions. One of them, of course, we got funding for to build a concession, which is at Victor, and then, of course, Vestal.
Javier, I have a question. On the section, it's on page 3, where it talks about the leagues cleaning the bathrooms. It says if applicable. Why is that there? Why did we add that?
So, for example, Vestal they have a community restroom, and so what we do is we maintain that one. So if it's within their complex, for example, at Victor Park, they have a restroom that's at the baseball fields that they maintain. They maintain the concession, so it's attached. Arroyo Park, the same thing. The ones at Sports Field, at Sports Complex, Wilson Sports Complex. So the only one that doesn't is Vestal. So we maintain that restroom.
Could we just put that language in the Vestal contract and take, if applicable, out of all the others? Because some of the complaints I received is that the bathrooms are in bad shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think somebody wants to speak.
Do you want to go and speak, Bob? If you can come to the microphone, please.
You just need the Price is Right music, right?
Hi, I'm Talia Garcia. I'm with the Harlingen Youth Cardinal. I'm a coach for cheer. I'm also the secretary. One thing about the restrooms is before our practice is even over, they're closed before 8. So that is a big issue with us. We do have a lot of little kids. They all need to go restroom. They drink a lot of water to stay hydrated. Our restrooms are closed. They're never clean. I do take all the little girls with me to the restroom because sometimes we see teenager boys in the restrooms. I've seen grown men in the restrooms. As soon as I walk in, they get out, leave. But we don't have our own restroom. So I just wanted to come up and say that.
Oscar, can we add that to the plan for Vestal Park? Bathrooms, personalized bathrooms?
Yes. Sam?
It would seem to me that if this is city property, the city should maintain the restrooms
Yes,
and clean
and
them.
they're always very dirty. We barely
And
got
who
soap.
closes them at 8 o'clock?
I don't know. By the time we go, it's before 8. They're already closed. I go with a group of little girls. We all stick together, and they're closed already.
And there are
Yes,
boys and men in the girls' restrooms?
Yes, yes.
That's
there
where
has
you
been-
dial 911.
Yeah, well,
That's sick.
I called him. I know we've tried to get in contact with Javier, and we never get a response. Like I said, we do coach the cheer organization. We are a competitive league. We have a little issue with this contract It says, any open green spaces at City Park is open and available to public on first come and first served basis. Like I said, we are a city league, a competitive league. You wanna go?
Yes.
Go.
Hello, my name is Samantha Perez. I am the cheer director and head coach of the Harlingen Cardinal cheer. So our main issue is the other team that's practicing. They're called Harlingen All Stars. They've been hosting tryouts there. They've been getting our parents get confused because we're both there. So whenever we have our registration going on, our parents think that's where they're coming to us, but they're registering through them, and they don't get a refund back. It's like you already registered, you're not getting a refund. So they spend hundreds of dollars more than what we charge our parents for registration, uniform, so on and so forth. We also, during the fall, we also, they're a competition. So it's like having both high schools in the same park. Like our girls get, they brought it up to me already, like, hey coach, like what's gonna happen? They're looking at our routine and we compete at the same, with Texas Sport. So it's been hard. I mean, we already told them something. Our president has went up to her. We've called HPD already because they're on the field as well. We've been using the fields, and then she's made a comment, say, oh, you can't do anything about it because my husband is a HPD officer. So it's just been like little incidents with that coach as well.
But you're cheerleading?
Yes.
Both
Yes.
of you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're not on this list of sports league contracts.
It's with
It's with the Harlingen
Cardinal.
football Cardinals, yes. We also have cheerleaders.
It's football and cheer.
Okay.
Yes, sorry. Anything else? I think that's our main issue, just them practicing and hosting tryouts in the field. I have a little printout as well, where they've been posting pictures on the field. And whenever we get there, it's like, that's our field. And we brought it up to their attention, and she kind of gets upset as well.
It creates problems for us and our parents as well. Like I said, we are a competitive league. Our girls already know this. They're already getting their mindset for, we have a little tryout, a little competitive league next month, and we are trying to start our routine
Yes.
for next month.
I think it goes back to where it says that the grassy areas, because now we're opening it up for any league to come in and run something of. It says that the grass areas are open, and we have a direct competitor, and they're literally right across from the girls trying to do their routines, and they're watching them. And
If we could hear their music and their chants, they can hear ours. So I don't think it's fair for our girls. They have voiced out, our older girls have voiced out, they did come on last fall, they're here in the spring, they did voice out that it's not fair, that they can see everything. We don't want that for them. We want to give them a chance to be able to go out there and be confident and go ahead and cheer and compete against our competition. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
So in response to that, the contracts don't talk about cheerleading. This one specifically says the basic use of the facility by league shall be for the purpose of promoting training and playing youth recreation football and the operation of a concession incidentals of such activities. So that was the reason that we really didn't make a big fuss about it when Abel called me and during the evening, and so I did talk to the other group. I did talk to the PD, and so I just told them that they needed to move. If they were playing in the fields, they had to move to the green area or green space area. So
Yeah, it's not like the soccer fields shut down all of Victor Park, right? Like, it's not like where the football fields use all of Victor Park and shut down everything. But I do understand exactly what their concern is, right? And going towards, Mike's not here, but going towards Mike's, we may need to create a separate contract for the cheerleaders, the cheerleader organization, separate and apart from the football one, so that they would have essentially first and right. But even then, like what you're saying is, they would still be able to use the green area. It's not like when Abel's there, kids can't use the playground.
Right.
I know, that's difficult. Any recommendations or?
So-
My thing is that it's a league operating.
And that may be the distinction, right?
Like, for instance, all this would be pointless because they're all leagues here. Everybody's running a league here. And we had to do things the right way, come and submit our paperwork, our insurance, our 501c3. And here you have somebody just coming and saying, well, you're going to use a grassy area to run our league. You know what I mean? And I mean, I took my food truck one time to register kids out there, and Javier called the police on me. I was just registering kids, and he says I was making money off of city property. The code enforcement officer came inside my food truck, and there's nothing on. I go, we're just using this as an office because there's nothing out here to use other than an empty field where we're putting tables, you know? So here we have a private entity, an organization, registering kids, making money. We don't know what they're doing, you know? They're not being held to any... They can just say, I'm running a league here and I'm using this grassy area, so that's it. Tough luck. There's no language in this contract that, it states that I can't run a league here in this grassy area because now it's open to first come, first serve to anybody. That's my...
Thank you, Abel. Mark, I'd like to see if you can get us an opinion on that, just to kind of give us our options.
The contract deals with your relationship with each of these leagues. If you want to impose a rule for people that don't have a contract and leagues that want to go on public places, we can look at that. That might be something we can address outside this contract.
That would have to be like a separate ordinance or something?
Yeah.
So then, Mark, can you kind of put something together for us
Yes.
to consider? Okay. Mark's with our legal department, so we need him to look at.
I think we all agree with what you're saying, that it's not fair that you guys are playing by the rules and these other people are not. So the thing is, we can't really put it in a contract or anything, but what he's gonna do is hopefully research and see if we can come up with an ordinance, like a rule, that gives you exactly what you want.
Okay.
But on top of that, we also need the city to have our back, because we have called the city to tell them to remove themselves from there in the proper way, and nothing ever gets done. Last time we had a baseball team out there paying their register with Pony League. Pony League has their own field to practice baseball.
We need you to come to the microphone, sorry.
My name is Stephanie Chavez. I'm not going to repeat what I just said because I don't remember everything I said. But I'm just saying that they're not being held accountable for what they're doing. We need the city to be on our side as well. You have us signing this contract to obey what's on here. You have us paying a $10 fee now for every child that's going to be registered. But we have another team that's out here registering kids. Don't know how many girls they have, but they're not paying fees. They're not doing anything that that you are requiring us to do.
So the situation is you have to follow the rules, but nobody else does.
Exactly. And we have nobody to have our back.
And
We don't
that,
have the
and,
city to
and
have our
fair
back.
is fair.
Yes, but we have the city telling us what to do, but we don't
Right.
have the city have our backs.
But it goes back to the cheerleaders gonna need their own contract. That's what it comes to, at least on the cheer side.
And Vesto is the only park that does not have a concession stand or a private restroom. So every other park does have a concession stand that they can feed off and make money for their league. Just leaving that out there.
Thank you. Anything else? I have nothing.
Anything else?
Javier?
Okay, please come to the microphone.
Yeah, my name's Bobby Davidson. I'm the president of South Texas Little League at Pendleton. I've been the president there since 2018 and involved with it either as a player or coach since I was 5 years old. So it's basically my whole life, just like Jerry, that league is his baby too. My main point of contact is Lupe. He's been really great with helping me with any kind of issues I got. Not here to throw anyone under the bus. The one thing though is that the lining of the fields, that thing, that really hurts. We're all volunteers. I clean the restroom before I go home and have dinner. My 7-year-old son helps me clean the restroom. We run the concession. It's a lot of work. So to line the fields too, now you're talking about getting there early every day, leaving work. That's a lot. Even having kids do it, it's a lot of work. If they could line the fields maybe once a week, every Monday, something like that, or every once a week somewhere down the line. That would help a lot. And then the $10 per player, that's astronomical. That's a lot. You went from $1 for the whole league, not per player, $1 for the whole league. And I understand it's more of like a symbol of just doing the contract, and I'd be fine if it was more than that to help pay for lining and stuff like that. But $10 per player, that's thousands of dollars. We raised our fee for the first time since 2016. We've had a lot of inflation since then. It was $50, we raised it $10, $60. If someone can't pay, it's Little League to cover it. We don't make them pay. If they can't pay, we cover that. That comes from sponsorship. So you're talking about $60 entry fee real quick, about $35 for a jersey. Insurance is another $10. Charter that we do at Little League, that's more. Any kind of all-stars, that's jerseys for those all-star kids, that comes from that money too. And now you want to add $10 on that. That's going to go straight to the player. That's very hard for us to cover. We replaced the scoreboard at the main field. That took me maybe 2.5 years of sponsors to try and put money aside to do that. And once we put that scoreboard up that we paid for, 100%, it's now y'all's. I had to write something that says, I give this scoreboard to you. It belongs to the city. If we leave for anything, it's not mine. Any improvements I do, that's y'all's now. And then so to charge us more and to do less, that's hard. That's a slap in the face. So that's all I have to say.
Javier, I have a question. Why $10? Why not more? Why not less? And what would your department receives this money? What are you to do with this money?
So it would of course stay, we hope, in the Parks Department where we could turn around and use it to maintain the fields. But what happened is what we did was we got numbers from other cities, right? And so we were sharing with the board, we shared with the leagues, and so one of the league representatives says, you know, why don't you just round it up to $10? And so that's where that $10 came from. And so the board went with $10 because that's what the leagues pretty much shared that they were comfortable with.
And at $10, approximately how much money would you receive? This is on a 12-month basis or per season?
It'll be per season. So every season we would go based on their roster, they would pay the $10.
Okay, and how much in theory would you receive from this?
So based on their registrants, so for let's say for example the soccer, right? So they had 680, then we'd get the 68,000 or 6,000.
6,800.
Yeah.
And so you're collecting twice a year.
It's 2,000 or 20,400 just from the soccer league. 20,000.
But on the base.
So
I'm just because that's what he said. I got the number that you guys gave, the
680.
The 680 times 3 seasons times
just like Bobby was mentioning, right? Inflation, right? So everything's going up. Even the material that we buy, which is to paint the fields, and then if they want a different color, then that's more expensive. What do we pay for the? So yeah, so we gotta line all the fields, right? So especially when all the seasons are going on. And then sometimes we do it twice, 3 times a week, because they as they're playing on them, right, they disappear. So we got to go back out and stripe them again. And so every time we got to buy that material, so it gets expensive.
And that's not to mention even like the maintenance of the field, the lights. I know just recently at the sports complex, you guys were putting in some dirt for the softball leagues. And I know that one of the major concerns, at least for the soccer leagues, is the dirt there that you have as well. And I know at Vestal Park, they want a concession stand, so that I'm assuming is going to cost a couple $1,000s just to put that in as well. So all this money is going to hopefully what should stay in the park department. And this is going to all this money is it's not something that the city's just keeping. It's just going directly back to you guys, to the community. It's going back to improve the field so that way we can have the fields that are worthy of the tournaments that we want to bring to Harlingen. That's basically the way it was. That's basically the way I'm seeing it.
Javier, when you were researching the fees on neighboring cities, were there any, was this kind of in line with what other cities are asking for?
As far as the fees?
Yes.
No, I believe it was $7. $7.
$7 was what was on average for the
Right.
others?
What other cities
Okay.
were charging.
And for, I guess, historically, forever, it had only been $1 on the contract, is that right?
Right, it was $1 for the entire year for the contract. So it wasn't individual participants, based on participants.
So Javier, would you be comfortable with $7?
Sure.
Thanks, Mike. That's what was going to be my next question.
I was hoping for 5.
We're having a reverse auction here, folks.
So long as they're in line, what
You have-
other our surrounding
I think it's
communities
important that we keep it in line with what the other cities are doing, because prices are going up for everything. And from what I'm hearing, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but from what I'm hearing, it seems that our parks need a lot of help. They need a lot of new stuff, and unfortunately, that does cost money. And this is going to be part of the, the money that's going to go into, like I said, it's going back to the fields. Nobody's keeping it, nobody's, it's going back to the fields to provide for your tournaments, for the kids, for everything.
I think what would be important too here is, since you're earmarking that money specifically for those fields, making sure that we're transparent in that, and potentially maybe having twice a year, we look to see the money that was collected and how it went back to those improvements in the fields.
Okay. Ma'am, did you want to speak? If you can come to the microphone, please.
This is way more complex.
And which organization are you with?
I'm Lori Dykes. I'm with Elvia Youth Soccer, so we oversee all the clubs within Brownsville, Harlingen, and Edinburgh. So to note on that, Brownsville does charge the players $9, but that includes lining the fields. Any care that they have to do on the fields, they take care of the fields. And our fields in Edinburgh, we don't. I'm out there lining the fields myself. I have to buy the paint, but that in comparison, like in the comments mentioned, in comparison to what you're talking about soccer, this is just the club's opening season. They're still going to grow. Fall is usually the biggest, so is summer. So at $680, even at that, that's $18,000 a year for just them. Adding in all the other ones and not providing anything on the fields, and they have to buy their own toilet paper and soap, that's a lot. The reduction of the price is nice, but we're still a 501. We still have a lot of kids that play on scholarship. Our organization strives very hard. We know the economic levels and the demographics that we have in the counties here, and we cover kids all the way from Stark County, Hidalgo, and Cameron, and even into Raymondville, and we even bring in teams from South Furious and Kingsville. And if the kids can't afford it, we pay for it. That's just the way it goes. That's a lot from the kids. We charge $60 to $70 a player for a full season, include their uniform, and like I said, it's a lot. For those kind of payments, each one, we still have to pay the state. The state charges us to include the insurance that you all ask us to provide. So all of those things, we know that there's obviously, cities are responsible, but I think also in line in part with public parks. It's a very hard place for the city to sit on. It's a public park. Everybody should have access to it. But again, on that note, when certain people do have to pay into it and do have to get the contracts, and none of those people are going to be able to sit there 24/7, neither can you all, and neither does Parks and Rec, monitor everybody who's going to be there, which means that the money that we're spending for goals, for whatever each league buys, is going to be used by public, and we don't know who's going to possibly damage it. It's going to fall on us who has the contract, and those are all risks we take, just like you all do. But we're the ones that are paying into it by each player, whereas yes, some of the other ones, on a public part, I understand. The complexes that are specific, where it's going to be field by field, it might be a little bit more workable, but we also need to be able to know, what do you all want us to tell them? what do you all want us to tell them when we show up and they're on the fields that we're supposed to use? What authority do you want us to, or what comments do you want us to do? What protocol do you want us to follow? Who's gonna come out and tell them they need to go when they tell us, who are you? We're not gonna listen to you.
Gabe?
That's where they need to call PD. I really would not want you
Right.
to actually confront anybody else because that could be an issue.
Gabe, this is a action item. I mean, I'm stunned by the amount of information that you have told us. And this is way deeper than I thought walking into this. So I would like to table this
We don't have to take action, Commissioner. That was just a
so
possibility.
that Gabe and Javier and our attorney, Mark, we could all get together. Because there's still too many loose ends in this. And I root for all your success. And kids are valuable, and you do the best for them. And I love it, and I appreciate it. But
Yeah, we weren't expecting to take any action tonight.
okay, then, really.
Yeah, and I'll get together with Mark so we can look at how to address some of the.
Go ahead. Please approach the podium.
My name is Monica Rodriguez. I'm a VP for the New Harlingen League. My question, comment, I guess, is I know we've been asking we've met with Javier and Lupe. They've been, helping us with what they can. But my question is, we have been asking, or they asked us to do that rest period. We really haven't had a season due to what has happened in the past with the old league since maybe November. And we've asked when is the start of the work on the field's gonna start for those 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we still haven't seen anything being done. So that's just my question. I'd like to know, our season's gonna start, when is the work on the field's gonna start? Because we are limited. Some of those U11, U12 fields, we've only have 2. And in the contract, it only states we can use them for the tournament. So there are some, I think, with this contract, to try to make it specific for all the clubs, I think is gonna be extremely difficult. I think maybe a way to work together and make a contract that's fit per club, maybe, for some specific line items that is only gonna pertain to soccer or only gonna pertain to softball or cheerleading or anything else. But that's all I have to say in reference to that.
Javier?
So, we're working with Public Works, and so their equipment was, of course, tied up over at Lonsey Hill. And so what we did was we agreed that we're gonna go out there on Wednesday and start working on fields 3, 4, 5, and 6. But, I mean, if their league is ramping up and they need those fields, then, we may want to work with them and postpone moving on them, or just maybe doing 3 and 4, let them use 5 and 6. But what we need to do is we need to go in there and remove the soil and then replace all the irrigation lines. We're going to keep the main lines. We have the water, everything else, but we just need to replace the lines and the smaller lines and then the sprinkler heads.
Javier, is it possible? It seems like there's a lot of concern in terms of, having a contract and being able to have access to the field and not having to being put in awkward positions when others are on the field, and and what steps should they take when that happens? Is there a way for us to have some kind of like a bulletin board of some kind at each of these fields, not a cork board, but maybe something that's similar to like what we have in City Hall, where we can open that up and post there the different, I guess, leagues that are occupying those fields, the times that they do, and so that way there's something that they can reference and say, hey, we are the designated organization at this field at this time, and that's something that can support them to make sure that everybody knows and they're on notice that those fields at that during those times are being utilized. Is that something that we can do? Is that costly?
Yeah, we could do that, and then, also maybe put some signage up that the leagues are under contract. We don't have to put specific names or league names, but we can put that they're under contract and that for any, usage, they would have to contact our office.
Yeah, and maybe we can look at that in terms of an ordinance, the commission, to say that leagues that do not have a contract with the city of Harlingen are not allowed to utilize fields. It's different when you have a league, actually practicing versus someone out, going out there to throw a football with their kid. So I think that there's a way that we can tackle it from both sides, if that's possible. Mark?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Javier.
Okay. Abel, one more time, real quick though, make it quick, please.
You cut me off. One thing is like, I know even at $5, like I was saying, we don't have a way to generate those $5 compared to other fields. I know like the soccer fields are wide open. People let's say they're paying that money to get the field striped, and there's a game coming up, and somebody's gonna come and use those fields, mess up the striping on those fields, versus like the baseball fields and the football field at Victor Park. I mean, you can close your field in and they're not going to mess with any of the striping. And over here, people, like my wife was saying earlier, they come do baseball, football. I've seen all kinds of sports out there, and I don't think every organization is on the level or a level playing field, I think you need to look at every organization in a different way of who can pay it. We don't have a way other than registration to fund anything. We don't have a concession stand. We don't have anything.
Well, the way to get that concession stand is through the fee. And then I know you were mentioning about fencing and stuff like that. The fencing that money that we could potentially get, the city would potentially go into possibly getting fencing and things of that nature.
Well, then put us off until we get a concession stand. And then once we get the proper facilities to compete with everybody else, then it should, I think that's the only fair way to do it.
Everybody has to be equal. But we'll talk later, Abel.
All right.
You got my number. You call me all the time. Okay, is there any other discussion? No? Good. Okay, last one.
And I'll make it quick.
Okay.
So I'm a numbers guy. My name is Josh, by the way. I'm a coach for Harlingen football. So, we're talking about, the $7 fee, and, they decided casually, excuse my wordage there, but to just round it up to 10, right? And then some people are suggesting doing it 5. My recommendation is let's just do a flat rate, if anything, because it seems like the cost of the maintenance to the fields are going to be the same regardless. Even if you had 80 kids versus 40 kids, the maintenance is still going to be the same. So the cost should be around the same as well. So instead of doing it per kid, figure the amount that would actually take to maintain these fields, and then just do a flat rate. And it should be something that's, more economical versus, $7 to $10. That's just a suggestion instead of trying to do it per child. Just saying, hey, for all the leagues, just do that rate. That might be something as well, because even though some of these other cities around us are doing it per child, we don't have to follow that system. Maybe we can do something that's going to be more advantageous to both the city as well as to the leagues, because, like everybody else has already expressed, it's tight out there right now, right? Inflation's hitting everything, but the last thing we want to do is pass it on to our customers, which are the kids, the kids' parents, because we're trying to get them off the streets and that, and doing good quality things through sports. So just a suggestion when you guys are going over the numbers and stuff is maybe just consider doing just a flat rate fee instead of per child, and that might actually be advantageous to both the city as well as to the leagues. So that's it.
Okay, thank you for this. Thank you.
Item 2, consideration and possible action on recommendations to sports league contracts.
Do I have a motion?
I don't think.
No, I'll make a motion to table.
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. Okay, item number 3 is adjournment. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.
Okay, no.